I'm going to create the door handle that you see on the screen here. The handle goes on the door that I created last time. To begin, I need to change my grid and my snap settings. I can change the grid by typing in grid, G-R-I-D. Currently it's set at 1 foot. I want to make that smaller. I'm going to bring my grid down to 1/4 of an inch, so 1/4. And for my snap, I'll type in snap, and I'll set my snap to be at 1/8 of an inch, 1/8. Now I can zoom in on my door handle area here by going to the View tab, and then from the Navigate 2D panel I'll select Window. I can put a window in the area where I want the handle to go, and it immediately zooms in on that area. I'm going to go to the circle command to create a circular handle, and I'll put it in the center here. That'll be my center point. I'm going to type in D for diameter, and I'll give my circle a diameter of 2.5, 2-1/2. And then I'll create another circle where the key slot will go using the same center point, and I'll give it a diameter of 1/2, 1/2. I need to zoom in on the keyhole area here, and I can do that by going back to the View tab, and from the pop down in the Navigate panel I'm going to select Object this time. With the pick box I'll select the inner circle, hit enter, and it immediately zooms in on that key slot hole. Notice that the circle appears as a jagged polygon. This is because the vectors have not been regenerated. I can regenerate them by typing in regen, R-E-G-E-N. It recalculates the vectors and the circle again appears smooth. The key slot is approximately 1/16 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to need to change the snap and the grid again to make this small key slot. So I'll move my crosshairs down to the status bar, and I'll turn off all of the status bar buttons except for the snap and the grid. Then I'll right click on either the snap and the grid and select settings from the pop-up dialog box. Here I can change both my snap and grid settings at the same time. I'm going to set my snap to be at 1/64 of an inch, 1/64. And I'm going to set my grid to be at 1/8 of an inch, 1/8. I'll draw a reference rectangle using the rectangle command. That's 1/4 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch. Let me move this over. 1/16 of an inch would be I believe right about there. Now I'll draw a diagonal down, and then I'll move it by using a crossing window, heating up the inner center grid, and then right-clicking and choosing Move. This will allow me to move it into the center. I'm grabbing it by that midpoint of that diagonal line. I'll turn my O-snaps on, and then when I get the center object snap, the little green circle, I'll left-click and it places it there. I'll hit Escape to remove the grips. I'll delete the diagonal construction line, and now I can begin with my line command creating the key slot. I'll draw a line down here. I'll come up. I'll come, let me type in U undo here. I'll come up. Oh, turn off my O snaps. I'll come over. I'll come up. I come up at a diagonal here. Again, this is my key slot. And then I'll finish it up here. I'm using that rectangle as a reference. Come down, down, and all the way down. Now, I've finished with the line command. I'll select that rectangle and I'll delete it, and that leaves me the key slot that I want. While I'm in at this zoom magnification level, I want to capture this view, and I can do that by going to the View tab, and then from the Views panel I'll select View Manager. I'm going to create a new view here, hit New, called Key Slot. And then I'll say OK. I'll apply and I'll say OK. Now if I do a zoom all, Z enter, A enter, it zooms all the way out. I could also create another view of just the door by typing in View, well, let me put a window around my door, and then I'll type in View to go to the View Manager. I'll hit New. I'll call this Door. I'll say OK. Apply. Now, if I want to go back to the door slot very quickly, I can just go back to the View Manager. I'll type in View. I'll select Door or Key Slot. I'll say Set Current. I'll apply that. Say OK. Do a regen, and immediately I'm there. If I want to go back quickly to the door, I'll go back into the View Manager, select Door, Set Current, apply it, and it takes me right back to the door. Let me go back one more time to the key slot, Set Current, apply, OK, and I can save my work.